is part 1 or volume 1. There's a 2-volume, or is it what? Words are hard. Okay. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with the books I read this summer. So in my month's absence that happened a little while ago, I realized I never really wrapped up anything. So I figured what better way to go through, you know, all of the months that I missed than by doing them all at once. So that is what we are going to do. I calculated, and in the months of May, June, and July, I read, I think, somewhere around 17 books, which is a lot for one video. So I'm just going to try to do a very simple review today of all the books I read, what they were, the star count I gave them, and maybe like a very little couple sentences or so about what I thought. At least that's what I'm gonna try to do. We shall see if it happens. So if there is a book that I talked about here that you want more thoughts on, by all means let me know in the comments below. But because I've got quite a few for 3 months, let's just get started. So starting off May, I read The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, which just came out on Netflix not too long ago. I loved this book. I think I gave it either 4 or 5 stars, really, really high up. It's told through letters. You guys know I like reading different types of books, so having one written in letters was fun to read. I very much enjoyed that. One of the things that stuck out the most to me was, obviously the story was really adorable. I loved it. But one of the things that stuck out to me most was having a writer basically have these different letters from probably about 15 to 20 different people, and being able to have a different voice for every single one of these. And having one person be able to have a different way of writing and a different way of speaking for every single character that is in this book, I just couldn't get over. It was so amazing to me. That is like a ding 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 of like a good writer, at least in my opinion. So that was really good. I definitely enjoyed that book a whole lot. So the next book I read, I borrowed from a friend, and that is The Rules of Civility. This one was interesting in a way. I don't know, it was not my favorite. It was set in the 20s, which I do enjoy that time period, not as much as, you know, some other time periods out there, but it was interesting to read. I believe I gave it 3 stars, somewhere in there. It had some moments, but my friend kind of built it up a lot more than I got from it. It was definitely, I think, a character-driven story, and I tend to like more plot-driven stories. I don't know, it was just kind of meh the whole time. I didn't really feel connected to anybody, and that's not to say that the writing was bad, because the writing was very interesting. It wasn't for me. It felt like not a lot was happening, and they were just going about their mundane lives until something interesting happened, which was in like the last 30 pages of the book. So I don't really have strong opinions either way. Like, I didn't hate it, but I also didn't love it. So the next book I read was Such Wicked Intent, which is the second in a series by Kenneth Opel. I have the first one, His Dark Endeavor. This is about Frankenstein before he creates the monster. It's just kind of like a part 2, obviously, to this one. And I got it on Audible because I had a free credit, and I realized there was only one more in the series and I had to know. I think I gave it 4, but it's probably more like 3.5 than 4, just because it's very odd. But like, it was good. The next book I read was Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, but the graphic novel version, because this was when I was starting to read graphic novels a little bit more. So I wanted to read one I already knew the story of, and so this is the one that I picked up from my library just because I saw it and went, well, that's interesting, why not? Personally, the artistic style in it fit the book really, really well, but it's not my personal favorite. It was very kind of like the same few colors, and this one just felt like it was really word heavy, which I feel like makes sense for this book, because at least from my memory, there's a lot of like narration in it. I gave it 4 stars because it was good. It just wasn't my absolute favorite, but I did enjoy the story because obviously Fahrenheit 451 is one of my favorite stories, or my favorite books. So that was fun, and I'm glad that that was my introduction. So the next 2 I'm going to do together because they're kind of the same, at least to me, and that is volume 1 and 2 of Twilight, the graphic novel, because I thought, why not? Honestly, I saw it in my library and went, they made a graphic novel of that? Interesting. And I picked it up, and the artistry is amazingly gorgeous. Like, oh my goodness, it's so pretty. I can't tell you, and I cannot explain how gorgeous the art is in this book. They are so pretty. But I did give both of them 3 stars because one thing that I noticed about them was if you hadn't actually read the original novel by Stephenie Meyer, you would be very confused half the time. It was more about the pictures than it was about the story. So there was definitely times when they would mention something and they would just kind of expect you to know that, and they've never mentioned it before in the graphic novel. But I feel like a lot of people who are reading these graphic novels probably already have read the books, so it's fine. But if you were just reading the graphic novels, you'd be crazy confused. The last book that I read in the month of May, we have now made it to the end of May, is called The Witch Boy. It's another graphic novel. This one is more geared towards children. It comes around full circle, and it's definitely has one of those kind of like hidden meanings, be a good person kind of stuff in it. I think it was really good for kids. I really enjoyed it. The art was amazing. The artist and the author are the same person in this case. It's very kind of cartoony versus kind of like Twilight. The Twilight books were more anime style. I think I gave it either 3 or 4 stars. It was probably like a 3.5 for me. I just realized I don't have any physical copies of any of the books that I read in May. In the month of June, the first one I started off with was 3 Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake. This took me forever. I remember I started this, if you guys remember. I got it from the library back in like April because I was going to read it for the Owl Readathon. And I started it. I didn't get very far, but I started it. And I finally got into it like the day the readathon stopped. But I finally started getting into it, and my library was like, hey, you done took this out too many times, so you have to give it back regardless of if you finish it or not. So I was like hardcore stressing. But it was really good. I'm 100% now in this series, and I need the second one like yesterday. I love the world. I love the characters. I love how the sisters relate to each other. I love how they actually meet. And let me tell you, the thing that you learn on literally the last page, whoa, I was not prepared. But yeah, it was good. I believe I gave it 4. I'm good at this. I gave it 4 stars just because it took me personally so long to get into it, but once I was into it, I was into it. So I very much enjoyed this book, and I cannot wait to start the second one. The next book I read was a graphic novel, and that is Persepolis, the first volume out of 2, and I very much enjoyed this one. I think I gave it about 4 stars. It was kind of like Fahrenheit 451 in that there were a lot of words. There is a lot of narration, and the speech bubbles, if someone was talking, usually had quite a lot to them. I felt like you needed it. It was about a revolution in Iran. I feel like it's very important to talk about, and it was all in black and white. The art is all in black and white, which I felt worked really well for this one. It was a lot of information all at once, but you needed everything. Everything was so important, and she had to tell you about her childhood. She had to tell you kind of about the world that she was living in so that you could understand why some of the things were so hard. So I thought that was really good. Overall, great book. Definitely enjoyed it. And I did read the second one, but we will get to that one in a second. I have this one. Oh my goodness, it might be the first time. So I dropped it. The next book that I read is Where She Went by Gail Foreman, the second in the If I Stay series. I talked about this one on my longtime TBR video if you want to check that one out. I've had this for a long time. So glad I read this. I gave this a whole 5 stars, and it was really good. It was really cute. It felt like a good ending to the series because it was definitely set, I think, either a year or 2 after the other one. It's exactly what it sounds like, Where She Went. They basically spend this entire night together. They haven't been together for years, and they're getting to know each other again, and they finally get to talking about all of the things that they need to talk about, and it was really good, and I'm super, super happy with the ending. It wasn't like fairy tale story ending. I felt like it actually, like this is an actual real life ending if these two people existed. The next book I read was If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. This one I know I've talked about before on my channel, and I really want to do a review of this at some point because it was that good. 5 stars. 100% 5 stars. This one was one I've been debating on reading for a while, and I saw it in the library and said, you know, why not? And I loved it so much I needed my own copy. I've never read a book with a transgender main character before, so hearing her story and the way that she went through things was absolutely amazing. I loved that the person on the cover is transgender. I love that the author is transgender. There's just so much representation that I feel like it comes from such a real place. I can't recommend this book enough. I think everyone needs to read this. It will surprise you. I think that there's so much about this that I didn't think I would love, and I just fell in love with. I don't have enough words to tell you how much I love this book. It was good. 5 stars. Go read it. The next one is a graphic novel. It was called The Unwritten. It is the first volume of that. I picked it up from my library because I thought, why not? A lot of strange things happen in this book. Graphic novel, I mean. I gave it 3 stars. Probably more like 2.5. I don't know. Like, I got the second one, but I just kind of DNF'd it because I didn't really feel it. I don't know, there was a lot of weird stuff happening and I just couldn't get into it. I guess it wasn't me. It wasn't my favorite. So I've moved on, but it was an okay read. Y'all, we have moved on to July finally. The first book that I read in July was Persepolis Volume 2. Didn't like this one as much as the first one, and I don't really know why. Same style, obviously. I think it was a very good second. I believe I gave it 4 stars. I did. I gave it 4 stars. So definitely enjoyed this. Everything I said about the first one is true about this one. It was really good. It was a story that needed to be told. It was just the second part of it when she grows up and leaves the country and starts college and then comes back, and it's basically she's trying to find herself in this one, whereas the first one it was more of like her growing up in this crazy psycho world. So yeah, not a whole lot I can say about that because I talked a lot about kind of the same things when I talked about the first one earlier, but good book. Very much enjoyed it. 4 stars. The next book I read was The Lady of the Rivers by Philippa Gregory. I love this book so much. I kind of read this out of order. She doesn't have, like, it's a series, but there's not like a right way of reading it. It's just that all of them have to do with the same time period. There's about 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, about 5 books that she calls the Cousin series, and then she gets into like Tudor England, and then Mary and Elizabeth, and then all of that. I just love Philippa Gregory. Like, my love has continued. I had only read a couple books by her, but the more I read, the more I love. If you like Victorian, Regency, any kind of England, the Tudor period, if you like kings and queens and political drama and political intrigue and all of that fun stuff, I think you'll like any of these in this series. This one, she had magical powers. Well, she didn't have magical powers, but she could kind of like get glimpses of the future. She definitely had some future super kind of natural abilities. And of course, that's the time period when everyone's like, if you have powers, you're rich. Oh my god. They would put you to death. You'd be done. It was really interesting to read about someone who had some of those in this time period, and her first husband knew about it, her second husband knew about it. This one, 4-star read for sure. I very much enjoyed this. It was good. I love Philippa Gregory. I don't know what else I can say about it. The next book that I read is one that I know a lot of people have been hyping up, and I didn't have any interest, but I'm so glad I read it because, yes. And that is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. Again, this is kind of like If I Was Your Girl, where I saw it at the library and said, you know, why not? If I don't like it, I can just take it back. And I loved it, so obviously had to get my own copy. I felt like these people were so real. Like, I could go out in the street and I would meet these two. I loved that. It was so real. It wrapped up really quickly, I think, at the end. Everything like kind of wrapped up in the last chapter or two. But I personally didn't mind that, but I can understand why others wouldn't like that. I do kind of wish that there was a little bit more to the end, maybe another chapter or 2 added on to that, because it just kind of like ended. I gave this one, I believe, 4 stars, but I did really much enjoy this, and I understand why everybody loves this, so I'm finally on that bandwagon, if you will. So the next book was probably one of my 2 favorite books throughout this month. I had a good reading month in July. It was just like, I enjoyed all of these. And that is When Dimple Met Rishi. Holy crap. I don't know if you guys can see this. Do you see how many tabs I have in this book? There's a lot. I love this one. 5 stars, 100%. It was so cute. There is so much I love about them, and I just want to read it again right now. I don't have words to tell you how much I love this one. I think this one is now probably on my favorites list of all time. It was so cute. It was so good. There was a lot to love about these 2 characters, and I think that they complement each other really well. I love her writing style. I just loved this book so much. It was so good. I'm fine. The last book that I read in July. It is The Darkest Minds by Alexander Bracken. Oh my goodness. So I finished this like, I think the last day of July. I think I finished it in maybe 2 days. I think less. It was so good. So I finished this one and then had to go straight into my readathon. And I didn't allow for the second one, and I am dying inside because I just want to read the second one right now. It was so good, and the movie was amazing. This was really good. 5 stars. No doubt. That was a lot of talking. So yeah, those are the books that I read this entire summer. Let me know what you guys think. Is there one that I didn't talk enough about that you would like to know a little bit more? Just let me know in the comments below, and I will gladly go into lots more detail about them. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end. I realize this is going to be a crazy long video because I crammed 3 months into one video. Thank you for sticking around to the end. What did you guys read this summer? What was your favorite? I'm gonna make you choose one. What was your favorite book that you've read this entire summer? If you would like to follow along on all of my reading journeys, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. They are down below. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already part of this awesome growing family that we've got going on over here. That's about it. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!